I planted some red Australian Napier, the Juncao grass, Super Napier Pak Chong 1 for demonstration to show you how to plant Super Napier, Juncao grass, Super K vines, and how to plant other feeds. These are the red Australian Napier that I planted last month. See? This is the red Australian Napier. The other one is there. Another one is in front there. Another one is right inside there. That is it. So even behind me, still some red Australian. And behind is the Juncao. See the Juncao? That is still part of good news. Another good news, look at this. Look at this. Do you know this? This is Super K vines. I just planted two, by the way. There were two cuttings, and I divided the cuttings. I cut each cutting into two, so I had four. So I planted one here. See this one? This is the one cutting. The one I planted this side. Another one I planted this side. See? This side. This and this. Then the other cutting also I cut into two. I planted one here. I planted one here. See? So that is Super K vine. Super K vine is very nutritious and it's very rich in many nutrients. And I told you, I use sweet potato vines and Super K to feed my lactating goats because they're a very good source of milk production. So that is still good news. Okay? Good news. See this one. This is the napier that was cut last week. See? Doing very well. The napier that I planted less than 4 months ago was ready and has already been harvested, and I've been feeding my goats. Let me show you the way they are growing. You see? These ones I cut last week and they are already germinating. See? Napier grass grows very fast. In fact, you can harvest napier grass, especially for goats. You can harvest napier grass every 3 weeks. They'll be mature enough for goats. Goat eats napier and they love it when it is still fresh and tender. That freshness and tenderness in goats is what we call palatability. At that stage, napier is palatable, pleasant to taste and to eat. So goats love napier when they are still young, before they form stems, the one that can be replanted. So especially at this stage, they can eat all of it. You see? So this is a napier that is less than a week old after harvesting. In 3 weeks, we will be back here harvesting again. The reason why I planted napier is because it is cost effective in terms of feeding, because it grows very fast and you can rely on it for feeding your goats. Despite the fact that I am keeping my goats on both zero grazing and free range, napier play a big part in supplementing the free range, because free range is about 60% of our feeding. That is just good news. We are going to the bad news. The bad news is that where I'm standing here, I planted the Lucerne. I planted Lucerne here. Lucerne is what we call alfalfa. I planted Lucerne and Desmodium, green leaf Desmodium. The bad news is that all of them dried up, except a few Desmodium that are here, that they have been blocked. Most of it has been blocked by this fence that fell over here. But Desmodium are here. There are plenty of Desmodium in patches. They have not grown uniformly. Like here, this is Desmodium. See this? This is Desmodium. This is Desmodium. This one is Desmodium. Desmodium is here. But alfalfa, none. Alfalfa is not here. That is bad news, and as a farmer, you must be ready for anything, for any eventuality. Now we are not going to stop there. I'm going to start another round of trial to plant alfalfa, but this time I'll do better. I'm going to do it better because I've learned from my mistake. One of my mistakes was that I didn't plant it with manure or fertilizer, and I planted it during a dry spell, and I didn't irrigate. I don't have a capacity to irrigate this farm. I will be lying if I say that I want to install drip irrigation here. So all this part you see here, this empty part, this was alfalfa. It is nowhere to be seen. All this part was alfalfa, alfalfa, up to that part where I planted Napier. Now the good news on this farm is that our Napier is doing very well. So as you can see, our Napier is doing very fine. All this is for goats. The good thing with our farming model is that our goats are on 60% free range, and in fact 70% free range and 30% zero grazing. Zero grazing means giving them feeds in the morning. The feeds include Napier, some caliandria that we cut around, some Lucerne, and sweet potato, avocado leaves, mango leaves. So we cut them and wilt them for a few days, not under direct sunlight, under shade, or we cover them with something so that they are not hit direct by the sun. The reason why we don't feed fresh feeds to the goats, or fresh plant feeds or forages to the goat, is because at that stage it is dense with water. A good example is Lucerne, alfalfa. Alfalfa is very dangerous to feed on goats when it is fresh. Alfalfa also should be wilted, should be cut and fed 3 days after cutting. The same applies to all these other feeds. And when you wilt these feeds, they become very sweet and palatable because that process unlocks the protein and other nutrients on the feeds. So here, still on the good news, is the sweet potato that we planted. Look at the sweet potato. All this is sweet potato. See that sweet potato I've been telling you about? All this. These are the sweet potato that we planted 2 months after we planted alfalfa and Lucerne. And as I've told you, Lucerne is nowhere to be seen. And as I've told you, the alfalfa is nowhere to be seen. And sweet potato and Desmodium, there are a few of them, and sweet potato is here. Sweet potato. Almost. This one will be harvesting in 1 month. So today I came to pluck a few sweet potato vines for our goats that just delivered. It needs this. This one is very rich in nutrients that the goat needs, and it's also a very good source of milk production for the goats. Wakulima, I told you something about natural synchronization. Can I put that into context? So this just delivered 2 hours ago. 2 hours ago.